Welcome to this edition of You Can Get There From Here. I'm Dr. Joe Moore, Chair of the Department of Communication and Digital Media Production at the University of Central Missouri, and it is my pleasure every week to get to visit with some of our alumni in digital media production, communication studies, and then on our graduate program, talk to them about what they're doing these days, and find out how the program helped them get there. Today, we are visiting with Katie Fitzpatrick. Let me tell you a little bit of something about Katie Fitzpatrick. Coffee has to take a double espresso to be able to keep up with Katie Fitzpatrick. She is all energy. She is all excitement. She is all enthusiasm. And we are so glad to get to visit with you today, Katie. How are you doing?
That was the nicest thing I have heard all year about me. So thank you so much. I'm so thrilled to be speaking with you. I'm so happy to talk about UCM and digital media production. So just thank you so much for inviting me.
Well, we are so glad to have you on here with us. So what have you been up to? You've got a new job. You've recently gone through a change. So before we get into that, tell us about your journey from UCM to where you are today.
Sure. Well, I started off at UCM working with KMOS. That was a big part of my life for the 4 years that I was at UCM. I didn't know that I wanted to do digital media productions. And that kind of came along in my freshman year whenever I got to work with students that really had a big passion for photography, videography, editing. And through them, I learned that I really loved that medium. I really loved entertainment. I loved the idea of, putting things together and editing and building packages. So I got involved with KMOS, which is, I highly recommend if anybody is looking to be involved in digital media productions. That has been such a spearhead and a leader of what I've been able to accomplish even now, just down the road. And when I got involved with KMOS, they taught me so much. They taught me how to work a live studio audience, work with TV, how to be a professional, how to dress, audio, video, editing, software that I never even thought I would be utilizing. I learned that pretty much my freshman year of college, which is huge. That hands-on experience just carried me almost my entire 4 years. And then when I got into my classes, which were also amazing and so hands-on, I kind of had that leg up. I kind of understood a little bit more about what was being taught, what we were speaking about, things we were reading about in our textbooks, and then eventually working with different softwares and everything as you get into those junior and senior level classes. So that was an incredible experience for me working at KMOS, and then just having professors at UCM that really took a chance on me and helped me kind of shape what I wanted to do. And in my 4 years at UCM, my emphasis was TV. I did a lot of TV. This is a story I love to tell because Dr. Moore has been there for a lot of things for me. And it's kind of crazy because you and I didn't have a class together.
No.
So you were never my professor because sports was never my thing, but you gave me such sound advice for 4 years. And that was, if you want to get your leg into the door and you want to be in front of the camera, sports is a very good way to kind of do that. And there were a lot of instances, and I hope that this is encouraging for so many students listening today, that you might have to do things you don't want to do if you want to get to the next level of your career. And I did a lot of sports and I completely stunk at it. And it was horrible. I was terrible, but it taught me such a valuable lesson. And one of them is study up on the things that you're going to be speaking about. And another is you have to take a chance and you have to take a leap of faith, even if it makes you uncomfortable. Get yourself in that position so that people can see what you're made of and what you can do. And then that can lead possibly onto the career that you're longing to have. So I got amazing professors that rallied around me, and TV was my emphasis. And lo and behold, after I did TV for 4 years at KMOS and UCM, switched to radio right out of college. Who would have thought?
Well, I'm gonna go back a little bit, first of all, and say you didn't stink.
I did.
You were very good on camera. You didn't know sports. That's like you said, that wasn't your thing. But that's the thing that really impressed me right off the bat is you were fearless. You're like, I don't know sports, but I'm going to do it. You had the opportunity. You were one of the first two students to be sideline reporters for us when we started in Sports Page and having it as a student produced show. And I was impressed with how brave you were. And no, you did not know diddly poo about sports,
I didn't.
but you didn't care. You jumped in there, you did your homework, you learned how to do that. And so that's what always impressed me was how fearless you were. And I love that you talked about when you were a freshman, you started working at KMOS, and then by the time your classes started, you already knew a little bit about what was going on and it made more sense because that's something I preach to potential students all the time. And so
You
getting in there
have
right
to
away.
be involved. You have to be involved, and if that means you're involved in newspaper, if that means you're involved in radio, sports, whatever the case may be, I can't encourage this enough. Outside of your classes, find whatever it is that you're passionate about and learn even more, because that's what's going to help you further along in your career, even right immediately out of college.
Yeah. So you did all that. You got all that training in sports. You got all that training in television. And then again, staying with the theme, fearless, you pivoted and went into radio. So talk about that. Talk about your radio experience.
Yeah, as soon as you I got out of college, I was working on some internships that I knew I wanted to come back to St. Louis for. Now, granted, if you have an internship, you take it. Kansas City, small market, large market, whatever you can do, you take the internships. I highly encourage having multiple of them. Um, but I knew I wanted to do an internship here in St. Louis, and it was really difficult because, as I said before, you can have all this experience, but TV, radio, newspaper, you're going to have a challenge met because it's so competitive. So, whenever I was kind of looking for these internships that I wanted to do, I wasn't finding anything in television. And the ones that I were finding, they would only accept 3 or 4 students. And then after that, they were cut off.
Yeah.
So, I realized I had to pivot. I realized that I had to kind of dig into that toolbox that I was taught with so many other professors at University of Central Missouri and find another medium that I could try to tackle, just so I could get this internship and just so that I could possibly get a career in this field. And lo and behold, an internship was open at St. Louis for website, graphic, and digital media. So, no television, not even my hands in radio. It was a completely different practice. And it was website, it was
Mhm.
blogging, articles, all of that. So, luckily enough, Dr. Eric Newsom was one of my teachers, and he was great. I learned some things from him whenever I was at UCM, and that really helped me as well. So, from that moment, from learning website and how to build website and HTML and graphics and all of that, I was able to leave that internship and get a job in radio, because the company that I was doing my internship was actually a radio station, was actually a radio company.
Okay.
They just weren't looking for producers, they weren't looking for hosts, they weren't looking for anything like that at the time. So, because of the work ethic and what I was able to do on the website side of things, they made this transition and said, okay, well, let's see what she can do with radio. Let's see what she can do with editing. Well, let's see what she can do with production. So that journey, even though I didn't know much about that, I did try, and it led me into a career that launched me to become from associate producer to executive producer, and then eventually the digital director of an entire radio station for the last 8 years. So keep at it. It might not be the medium that you think you want to be in, but it can lead you to other aspects.
Well, and that's the thing we talk a lot about with radio is it's not your grandfather's radio. This isn't a mobile jukebox anymore. It's a media outlet. Radio stations do video now. They do a lot with the website. They do with a lot of digital sales. So yeah,
It's completely changed from a singular medium to a multimedia task force. And that's what's crazy about just digital media productions as a whole. No, you're not doing one thing anymore. And I think students really have to understand that you are not going to do just your thing. You are going to do multiple things in this profession now, and you have to be prepared for those things.
And that's kind of what we're trying to get to with the multimedia production and intro digital video and audio production and all the little parts to the program. And you took full advantage of it. And now you're going through a career change. Now
I
you
am.
are at Washington University doing social media, correct?
I am. Yeah, I'm at WashU here in St. Louis. This has been very recent. I got out of radio. I was in it, like I said, for the last 8 to 9 years, and still love radio. I still am very passionate about it. I think that it is an amazing place to be, but I just had an opportunity come up that was again in a medium that I did work within radio and I knew really well, but now this is social media coordination, social media market managing, and so still an aspect of digital media, just now a different type of digital media that I was used to for the last 8 years.
So you talked a little bit about this, how radio has changed, where it's like I said, it's not a digital or a mobile jukebox anymore. How, as a whole, has the media industry changed and evolved since you got into it? You graduated in 18,
16,
16,
2016.
16. So
Mm-hmm.
you've been out eight
Long
years.
time ago. Lord, it feels like yesterday,
Been
though.
a couple
It feels
days,
like
hasn't it?
yesterday,
Yeah,
Joe.
yeah.
I'm like, I cannot believe it. But I mean, I would say it's changed dramatically. Um, the biggest notice that I have for these spaces is how much people do utilize social media and how much you need to be um, very prepared. I'll say this first. As someone getting out of college and going into a professional setting, you need to be very prepared that people are going to be looking at your social media. That is like, I'm sure everyone in all of the classes has harped on this, but this is such an important part that they will be, all of your employers that you're trying to get jobs with are going to be looking at every aspect of your social media, as well as encouraging you to get a LinkedIn, encouraging you to go on Indeed and have your resume. All of those things are very important to start off with.
So do they
But
look at good and bad on your social media? So like if you're promoting yourself as a digital media professional, will they look at that as a positive?
I think so. What I have come to know, even from both ends of being someone that would like to be hired, but also someone that has looked for interns and that also has looked for employees, is that when you have a job and we look at your resume first, we're going to go to social media to see who you are. And who you are, what you do, how you speak, your showcase, all of that on your Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all of those platforms, we're going to look and see like, how does this person carry themselves on social media? What do they like? What are their interests? What professionally have they done? Do they have work that we can sample and see? All of those things are being viewed. And to go back to the point of how digital media has changed so dramatically, social media has changed the game. Social media in everything, in television, in radio, in newspaper, in articles, in blogs, whatever, in sports, whatever you choose to do, social media is going to be a huge part of that because it, if I'm being quite blunt, it's a free resource. There's free publicity, there's free marketing that happens with social media, and it's a huge gateway of reaching an audience that might be untouched, that might be untapped, that might not be listening to the radio, that might not be watching the television program, that might not have Spotify. So all of these things, social media starts to play a big role. And I've noticed that from 2016 when I started all the way till now. And the investment that companies have with social media and how much they're willing to exhaust their efforts to make sure their social media looks good has amplified so much in the last 8 or 9 years.
So we didn't talk much about social media when you were a student here. It was getting going and getting started, but it
Yes.
wasn't then what it is today. What did you do here? In what way, I should say, we were talking a lot about what you did yourself, but what did the program do for you to help you get job ready?
I think every this is going to sound so ho hum, and it's going to sound like I am 65 years old. Um, but in all honesty, what the programs did for me at UCM is provide me with professors that really care about me and really care about the program and really care about their students' success. So, my advice for a lot of people that are listening right now and going through these classes, pay attention to when your professor says, you need to clean this up, clean this aspect up, do the LinkedIn, make sure you're hands on, unbelievably hands on. And it doesn't matter if you want to be hands on working a camera, or it doesn't matter if you want to be hands on writing the article. You have to be hands on and try multiple things to be hands on, because UCM, especially digital media productions, offers all of those avenues, offers all of those tools from the professors who are like, we are invested in your health, we are invested in your success, to programs that are like, come join the newsletter, come join the newspaper, do sports page, do KMOS. All of those people encourage you to keep going and to be hands on with your craft, so that when you're out of it, you do have that leg up. You do have that extra oomph on your resume that people are noticing, saying, wow, how does a 21-year-old know how to work a camera and do a live TV show? How do they know how to edit a package already? It's huge, it's monumental, and UCM offers that from stem to stern.
Excellent. I like hearing that. So you had a lot of classes, you had
I
a lot of
did.
experiences. What were some of your favorites?
Oh my gosh, Lord have mercy. That's a good one. That's a really good one, because I I honestly look back at my entire experience at UCM, but with our program, with such fondness and so much love and so much appreciation. But I couldn't, you put me on the spot, Joe. I couldn't name one, because every single class had someone say, try this project and do your best that you can, and be hands on with whatever we're giving you. And if it's bad, if it's good, whatever, we're going to be there to kind of help out the situation, help you, so that we can make it even better. And I mean, I have every single class that I experienced from, I'll just use like my upper level classes, junior and my senior year at UCM. Everything was like at my fingertips and every professor was like, go at it, write a script, be in front of the camera, edit whatever you want. I mean, it was just incredible. I don't think I can honestly pick out one experience that I love. I loved it all.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, because if you could pick out one, it means maybe the rest of it wasn't so good.
It
if
was
it's
garbage. No, it was,
if it's hard to pick one, then that's a good thing. We like to
I
hear
loved
that.
it all.
Well, great. So, if you were telling a student who is currently at UCM and giving them a little bit of advice, what would that advice be? And if you were talking to a student who was thinking about coming to UCM, what would you tell them?
Um, I'll start with the latter first, about someone that's considering UCM, because this happens a lot, especially here in St. Louis. There's a lot of high schoolers. There was a lot of people that were, kind of in between, wanting to decide where they wanted to go and what they wanted to do. And to me, UCM was so perfect, because you're not going to get lost in the crowd. It's big enough for you to be like, I can make a bunch of different types of friends. I can do a lot of different things. I can join a lot of clubs and still feel like we're at a big school. But there's a small town feel to it. There's a lot of love and personal personal connection that you have within your classrooms, with your professors, with people leading the clubs, with your peers within the dorms. It was just a perfect combination of being like, oh my gosh, I'm at a university and it feels like a university, but I know every single one of my classmates because
Yeah.
the class size, or I know my professors by name. And not only can we email, but I can go up to them and they know who I am and we can have a discussion after class. So I always encourage people, if you want the best of both worlds, UCM is the place to be. And also the programs, even outside of digital media productions, wild and amazing. Aviation, didn't even know that other schools really offered that. But UCM, agriculture, incredible, amazing school for both of those things. So I highly just encourage people that would love to have that feel to come to UCM.
Excellent.
And then for current students, I think the best advice that I could really give is to be humble. Be humble in everything that you do when it comes to this medium, when it comes to this profession, because you do have to build a very thick skin. I think every single time, Joe, that I'm with you, I always preach this.
Yep.
There is a no. No is the word that you are going to hear a lot. I don't mean to sound discouraging. I don't mean to sound that like, this is like, don't do this anymore.
Yeah, be
But
realistic.
this is a field of entertainment. This is a field of getting in the mix with people who do have big egos, that there's a lot of money invested into it. And the word no is going to happen a lot. And you have to be ready for that. You also have to be ready for people to say, didn't like that, can it? Even if you worked all night. You have to be ready for people to say, not what I had a vision, start over, and you start over on the project. It's happened all throughout my career. I've been told no for 8.5 years. I've been told start this over. I've been told this isn't good enough. But then and you have to build that thick skin. But then when you get the yes, then when you get the like, wow, that was really good work, it means something. It means everything. But my advice for people in digital media productions is that you have to build a thick skin. You have to be humble. And the third most important thing that I think I can attest to is be flexible. Just do it. Just say yes and do whatever it is. Learn it, ask advice, ask the questions from your leaders and from your peers, but be flexible and adapt, because this industry too is one of those things where people are going to ask you to do a lot of different things. Social media, they're going to have you produce, they're going to have you edit. And even though it's outside of your comfort zone, you just doing it and saying yes and figuring it out means so much to your boss and to the company.
Well, I appreciate that realism, because that's one of the things I preach all the time. You got to have a thick skin because you're putting content out there. And a lot of what we do is subjective. I may think it's beautiful and wonderful, and the person next to me may, like you said, that's not what I had in mind.
Right.
So we need to be realistic. I had an old coach in college who used to tell me if it were easy, anybody would do it,
Right. And that is maybe the mantra of this business, is that, we don't have legions of people that you're going to be working with. You're going to find yourself in small proximity in a department of people being like, okay, you have an idea, I have an idea, they look different. How do we accomplish it and get that same goal together? But throughout those times, there's going to be instances where it does stink to hear the word no, but you just got to kind of do it and move on.
Yeah, that creativity is what we love about it, and that chance to grow and improve it and get all better at it. So, Katie, thank you so much for being here today. I'm so proud of you and what you've accomplished. And again, keep that fearless spirit. Good luck on the new job. And just thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I greatly appreciate the time. I love UCM. If you didn't get that already, I love UCM. I loved our program, and I'm just so thrilled to be on this podcast with you today. So thank you, Joe.
Well, it's great having you here with us today. And thanks all of you for tuning in. Remember, you can catch every episode on our YouTube channel through the UCM Media Network. That's youtube.com/UCMMN. You can also listen on Spotify. Again, this is Dr. Joe Moore at the University of Central Missouri reminding you, you can get there from here. Have a great day.